Okay, I want to explain the difference between the American Revolution and the French Revolution, because there was a difference. And the American Revolution came first, and that influenced the French Revolution. But before I get into that, I want to say that the culture, the American culture in the 18th century was religious, it was spiritual. Everybody believed in God. It was just a common matter-of-fact thing. It was just normal to believe in God. There was no big atheist movement or this big atheist influence in society and all that like they came later. So that's why it was not necessary to say anything about God in any of the documents, because it was just taken for granted. All right, and that was the basis of the philosophy, and they took this for granted as he being the foundation of all political government and society. So I say to the atheists, who deny that, saying that America's a secular society and this and that, what about the president swearing in on a Bible? What about the Congress praying before they start? What about the coin, "In God We Trust"? Have you people ever seen that movie, Mr. Smith Goes to Washington? You could learn something from that. So, God is there, so there's no problem. We are founded on God and all. Now, the French Revolution was inspired mostly by the teachings of Rousseau, Jean-Jacques Rousseau. Jean-Jacques Rousseau was a spiritual, religious man, too. He had his own ideas as a philosopher and all that, but he wasn't an atheist, And he took it for granted, too, that everybody was going to believe in God. He didn't have to say in his writings that, God is the foundation and all that. He took that for granted. So people are spiritual, they believe in God. Why should I say this kind of thing? It's not necessary. So, but he was very enthralled, very impressed by this idea, very enthusiastic about the people being the foundation of political government and power and all that. So he pushed for that in the French Revolution. I mean, the revolutionaries and all that. Whereas the Americans also did the same thing. They pushed for the government of the people and everything else. And look at Abraham Lincoln. I mean, how much spirituality, what a man, what a religious man, and speaking about God very naturally. He didn't find no antagonism between God and society and all that. So, yeah, what happened was that the Jacobins, who did realize the French Revolution, they were very radical. I mean, they didn't want to know about God at all. They liked the idea about the people being the foundation, but not. They separated the people from God. They did not see the people, God's power and authority coming through the people to society. They just simply cut off the people from God and said, the people are the foundation of all political authority and everything else, separated from God. God has nothing to do with it. God just simply is ignored it or just expelled from society. But the French didn't, even though they had their democratic ideals and all that, they didn't go too far because Napoleon took over, and so the people became very impressed and very enthusiastic about an empire and having Napoleon become an emperor. So they started the French Empire, and so democracy was all forgotten about. But Napoleon went around knocking down kings and queens and princes and all that, and establishing those famous principles, equality, fraternity, and fraternità, something else there, whatever they said. So now, after Napoleon was knocked down, okay, and they tried to establish the monarchies again, all right, the people did not want those monarchies back. And what they did was they fought for the lay state, okay? And now the lay state, the secular state, was what came out in the 19th century. And so I'm going to talk about that, because that was influenced our modern society and all that. So that's different from everything else. But before I close this video, I just want to answer one of my commentators who said that I keep believing in this big duck in the sky, Let me tell you, the big duck in the sky is just a figment of your imagination. And I'm not that stupid to believe in a figment of my imagination. I believe in a real, living, eternal God, an infinite God being. So that's different from figment of your imagination. I'm not, why would I believe in stuff that I would create in my own mind, which is not real? So lay that one off. That's it's not even worth considering.